Six Sigma, statistical process control, lean manufacturing, agile, TPM, TQM. I immediately fell in love. Hi, I'm Nico de Sousa, Lean and Continuous Improvement content expert at the Delaware Valley Industrial Resource Center. Lean principles and continuous improvement are at the heart of creating efficient, successful organizations. Today, I'm answering some questions about CI and lean practices, breaking down the concepts that drive results, and sharing strategies that you can put into action. Let's get started. Hey, first question. How did you become a CI practitioner? Tell us about your career journey. I've been working in manufacturing now over the last 15 years. I've worked across different industries spanning from the medical device industry, data and information production, and primarily where I spent the bulk of my working experience, which has been in the food and beverage industry. Across those experiences, I've had the opportunity to work in different roles spanning from product development, quality control, production supervising, warehouse supervising, and most recently as a continuous improvement manager. My interest in continuous improvement really started early on in my career as I was a contributor in a Six Sigma project that one of the companies that I worked for was conducting. They were trying to drive better quality in some of their internal processes. And from that moment, I knew that that's what I wanted to do from a career standpoint. I was trained in things like Six Sigma, statistical process control, lean manufacturing, agile, TPM, TQM, and I immediately fell in love. I enjoyed the aspects of working on complex problems, challenges, working across functional teams, and ultimately trying to drive success within the organizations that I've been working in. As a consultant, I get to do a lot of that. I work with organizations to try to drive operational success, whether it's better quality by way of reducing defects, enhancing throughput, getting more volume out the door, or just simple process improvement. That's kind of one bucket of my job. The other is teaching and helping share some of these best practices with teams in our area. What is Lean CI? For me, it's very simple. It's how can I be better today than I was yesterday? If I'm doing something differently today that's going to make me better than I was yesterday, then ultimately you're driving continuous improvement. It can be as major as a capital project, building a new production line or buying a new piece of equipment, or it can be as minor as, hey, moving a table over to save maybe 10 footsteps to get from point A to point B. There are a lot of tools and techniques and methodologies that are out there to drive continuous improvement. One of those is lean manufacturing, the process of identifying and eliminating waste. So there's waste essentially in every single one of our processes at work, whether it's on the shop floor or whether it's in the front office. A lean thinker, a lean practitioner is one who tries to identify these sources of waste and work towards minimizing, reducing, and eliminating. And as a result, if we eliminate waste, then essentially you will be better than you were yesterday, i.e. driving some of that continuous improvement. Okay. Lean is commonly understood as a philosophy aimed at the elimination of waste. How do we identify them? Forever and always, organizations are going to have waste. A lot of mistakes that companies make is they just try to go out to the floor and they kind of take a popcorn scattered approach of trying to find waste and trying to work towards eliminating it. And it doesn't really get them to where they want to be. So there's a more strategic way to go about eliminating waste, which is this process of value stream mapping, or essentially process mapping. What a value stream map is, it's a visual representation of a process from start to finish. And on it, there's a lot of important information, things like information flow, material flow, communication flows. It's essentially trying to get us out of the weeds and seeing the entire forest for what it is. And once you can see your process in a visual way, it allows us to identify what are the critical few versus the trivial many, meaning what are the main problems, what are the main pain points that we should really focus our time and effort and energy on, and let's try to fix those first. And the result of using a process map, whether it's a value stream map, a swim lane diagram, a spaghetti diagram, or a simple flow chart, it allows you to take a more strategic approach to identifying and eliminating these wastes. Okay, what is the role of root cause analysis as a way to improve quality? Which root cause analysis techniques would you recommend? Root cause analysis to me is very simple. It's 3 points. It's understanding what happened, why did it happen, and what do we need to do so that this event doesn't happen again. Unfortunately, a lot of companies suffer through the same issues, and the reason being is because we may have failed in one or more of those 3 bullet points. There are a lot of tools and techniques to help us answer some of these questions. I personally like 5 whys. It's a very simple exercise. It's just asking the question why over and over again as to why something happened. Allows you to uncover maybe the root cause of some of these issues. Using tools such as a fishbone diagram allows you to explore different potential sources of an issue in different categories. Using tools like fault trees allow you to represent a problem in a visual way. Regardless of which tool you use though, every organization should definitely be considering incorporating some sort of root cause analysis activity to better their quality. How do you decide which CI concepts an organization should focus on? An example, Lean, Six Sigma, 8D or 8 Discipline, Agile, etc. So this is an interesting question because a lot of times companies think that it's one or the other. And in reality is that these tools are not really mutually exclusive. They should be used in tandem with one another. You might have some problems that are very data driven, in which case statistical process control or Six Sigma might be better suited for those types of problems. You might have other issues that aren't very data related, in which case maybe taking a lean approach or an 8 discipline or a Kaizen approach might be better suited. You shouldn't really focus on one or the other. It's just a matter of understanding what these tools are and how they can benefit you, and ultimately pulling the tools out in the right situation to ultimately drive that continuous improvement. How does technology and advancements in things such as AI factor in with CI? AI has definitely expanded over the last several years in manufacturing. From a continuous improvement standpoint, it's definitely making it a lot easier to do some of the more human aspects within manufacturing, such as writing standard procedures, analyzing data, or just like value stream mapping. AI is being used to better automate and communicate to us the performance of our production lines. I definitely see AI playing a bigger role in not just manufacturing, but from a continuous improvement standpoint moving forward. From a CI standpoint, what tools do you think are the most important, and why do companies emphasize 5S so much? There's a lot of tools within continuous improvement that I value a lot. For me, some of the bigger CI continuous improvement tools are 5S, are visual controls, visual management, standardization, standard work, root cause analysis. But the reason why 5S tends to be one of the more popular is because it's kind of helping establish culture within organizations. 5S is essentially a process to help drive, build, and sustain well-organized, clean, and maintain working environments. By better organizing a working area, by keeping it clean and keeping it maintained, in turn, we become better, we become more effective and efficient at our job. The underlying takeaway behind 5S is really to create a culture of respect for the organization and respect for the coworker. The 5S's themselves are to sort, set, shine, standardize, and sustain. How can we develop a cleaner, better maintained, and organized working environment? What are visual controls and visual management? Well, visual controls and visual management is a concept that has to do with how can we make our workplace as visual as possible so that when we see things, they immediately communicate to us an understanding of a situation or condition. Whether it's color coding a set of dies, whether it's a status light on a machine, whether it's a whiteboard on the wall. When we see these things, we immediately know what's going on, and it allows us to make better decisions. The thinking here is how can we implement as many visual controls as possible so that it allows us to manage our operations a little bit better. Why are quick changeovers and reduced setup time so important? Well, a changeover refers to when you go from product A to product B. And in that time, there are activities that have to be done in order to run that next item. So whether that means changing out machine tooling and dies, whether that means plugging in new settings on the equipment, or taking out old material and loading new material into the production equipment. It's essentially time that's spent prepping and getting ready for that next production run. Any second that a person is idle or a machine is idle, it's not running production, it's technically waste. So in theory, changeover time, setup time is waste. And the thinking here is how can we expedite that time from where we go from point A to point B so that we get it down to the quickest fashion possible. One of the main benefits of quick changeovers and quick setup is that it allows you to buy back production capacity. So where a lot of companies might have to run additional shifts or have to run in the weekends to make up for production that they did not make during the week, sometimes the simple answer is, hey, if we can reduce our changeover time by 30 minutes or an hour, then we buy back capacity and therefore we don't necessarily need to run additional days or shifts to meet that production. What are common pitfalls companies make in implementing a process? So this is a good question because a lot of times when we think about, inadvertent events or, why things are the way that they are, my first question is, do we have a process around it? And if the answer is no, then really that's where we should start. For any process to be successful, you need to have three things. You need to have a standard set, which is basically saying this is what it is and this is what it's not. If it's not this, then it's not correct. Once you establish a standard, then you need to create awareness to the standard, which is basically saying, hey, does everyone know that this standard exists? If I don't know that I should be doing this or that this is what the standard is, then it's only expected that inadvertent events might occur. Once you create the standard and once you create awareness to the standard, the last piece, and probably one of the most important pieces, is the accountability to the standard, which is saying, hey, are we actually following what needs to be followed? Are we actually doing what needs to be done? In order to have process success, you need to have all three of those. What is TWI and why is it making a comeback? So Training Within the Industry, TWI, it's a program that was created back during World War II in the United States. If you think about one of the realities that existed during World War II in the United States, there was a lot of issues with getting materials and products out to the soldiers on the front line. And the reality was because a lot of the workers who were working in these factories producing these products were now shipped overseas to fight in the wars. The other reality was that these companies that, their entire lives were making the same thing every single day, from one day to the next were instructed that, hey, now you need to start making items for the war effort. You're a company that doesn't know how to make these items with a workforce that doesn't know how to produce these things either. The government realized that there was a need for help. So as a result, it created this program called Training Within Industry, which is a program that kind of splits manufacturing into three categories between job methods, JM, job instruction, JI, and JR, which is job relations. And each one of these functions has a 4-step model, which ultimately, at the end of implementing these 4-step models in all three of these core functions, will result in better methods for production, better trained operators, and better relationships between the supervisors and the front line. But it kind of went away for a long time here in the United States post-World War II, but it's been making a little bit of a comeback due to some of the supply chain issues that have come about after the pandemic. And a lot of companies are realizing, oh, wait a minute, there's a program that's been around, that exists, that can help us kind of address some of the same things that we saw 80, 90 years ago. Next question. What are some key factors that drive CI success within an organization? There are a lot of factors that go into continuous improvement success within an organization, but I really want to focus on two main ones. One of the main ones is the fact that in order for continuous improvement to thrive, it really starts with strong leadership. They're the ones responsible for getting people the training and the tools that they need to be successful in driving continuous improvement. If any of these areas are lacking from a leadership standpoint, then it's very difficult for continuous improvement to thrive in any organization. The other main point that I want to kind of emphasize is that continuous improvement is not really owned by just management or leadership. It's literally everyone's responsibility, whether that's quick huddle meetings in the morning, whether that's going out to the floor and engaging with your workforce to see, hey, what ideas do you have? Or, what's bothering you today? And how can we go about fixing this pain point? It's everyone's responsibility to drive continuous improvement. Which models work better for CI implementation? A dedicated CI resource or a CI committee? Some organizations that have the resources and the means, they might have a dedicated person or group of individuals like a CI engineer or process engineer. And as a team, they form a continuous improvement team. Some organizations that don't have the resources to do that will have a setup where they might have a CI committee where there's essentially multiple people that collectively they form the CI group or the CI department within that company. And there's not one way that's better or the other. It's really just a matter of identifying what your organization is and what resources your organization has. If you take the CI committee approach, then one of the things I would say is that you want to make sure that people that are in that committee are well versed in some of these CI tools that are out there, such as lean manufacturing or Six Sigma. And if you have the CI resource approach, then that's good and well. These folks are more to help facilitate some of the projects and some of the initiatives that are going on within the facility. Okay. What are some strategies to engage teams more in continuous improvement? So I think the more intentional and deliberate we are with some of the continuous improvement activities, the easier it is to get feedback from folks, as well as the more buy-in you're going to get from these individuals as well. So some techniques that I would recommend is essentially just getting people in the same room talking about a common issue and getting everyone's idea and feedback on how can we go about addressing this issue. And as a result, not only would you come up with a good idea, but you also get more buy-in from those same individuals if they're part of the process from the beginning. Another good approach is to do Gemba walk. So a Gemba walk is essentially going out to the floor, managing out on the floor, seeing these problems where they happen. And one of the main benefits of doing Gemba walks is not only do you get to see for yourself out on the floor, but it allows you to better interact and engage with the folks out on the floor as well. Not only does it demonstrate an interest from a leadership managerial standpoint that, hey, I'm truly interested in your problems and your concerns here, it's also kind of spreading that message that, hey, my opinion matters. And so therefore, I'm going to help share my ideas moving forward with other areas. I'm going to provide my feedback on how we can continue to make things better here at the company. How does DVIRC support manufacturers with CI challenges? So the DVIRC offers a lot of different services and help in different ways. From a consulting standpoint, we offer a lot of help, whether it's with improving quality by way of reducing defects in a production process. We help companies increase throughput and identify how can we get more volume out of a production process. We do cost savings projects. We do process mapping for them. Essentially just trying to help with whatever challenges that they might be having difficulties fixing on their own. The other approach that we like to take is more of an educational and training route, not only helping them address immediate issues, but kind of giving the folks there at those organizations the tools in their toolbox and the capabilities to identify these problems, and not only identify them, resolve them moving forward. All this sounds great. Where does an organization start? And what would a roadmap look like for building this culture? It's very difficult to change culture, to build culture. And you kind of have to divide it up into small chunks. The first piece I would say is, you definitely want to have a direction. Where is the company going? What is the DNA? What are the core values of our organization? If we don't really have a clear view of that, if we don't really have a good understanding of who we are and what we want to be, then it's going to make building continuous improvement very difficult. Once that direction is established, then we need to roll that out across the larger team. And we need to communicate that, hey, this is who we are as a company. This is the direction that we're moving forward. And then I would say a last piece of building continuous improvement culture is building the space and intentional time within our days, within our weeks, within our months, to be able to perform these types of activities. The reality is we need to be intentional with how we go about continuous improvement. If it matters to us, then we need to block, whether it's an hour a day, an hour a week, a day a month, but we need to be intentional with our time to allow us to work on these types of projects, because if we never do, then we'll never essentially get better and we'll never drive that continuous improvement. Thanks for tuning in. Continuous improvement isn't just a set of tools, it's a mindset that can transform your organization. At DVIRC, we specialize in helping companies implement lean principles, engage teams, and create lasting change. If you're ready to eliminate waste, boost efficiency, and build a culture of improvement, we're here to guide you every step of the way. Let's start the conversation today.